Hi, everyone. Last night, some information was introduced that had no scientific backing whatsoever. It refers to a woman's femur growth throughout life, and I felt compelled that I had to correct the record. Statistically, although men's femurs are longer and larger overall than women's, the proportional length relative to total height is very similar, around 25-27% for both sexes. With some studies showing slight variations, the proportional size difference in the length is very slight and statistically insignificant. However, women's femurs tend to have different shapes and proportions, like being wider relative to their height and with less cortical bone mass compared to men's bones. A woman's femur doesn't lengthen after teenage years, but it does continue to change in thickness and diameter, occurring sometimes before menopause. Although bone mineral density generally declines, especially after menopause due to estrogen drop. Women's bones reach peak mass by their late 20s, but bone maintenance continues throughout life until menopause. It is very important to me that we arm you with the best information possible to help you with your development. Sometimes inaccuracies occur and are mentioned, and it's vital that we self-reflect and admit that it was wrong so we don't get misconstrued and continue to spread misinformation. That portion of the video has been removed. Thank you and enjoy the video.
Open. In North
You're
Carolina, everything's open.
Carolina's first this year.
Really?
Yes.
Nice.
All ski areas are open, I think, except Cashers. Everything else is open.
Were you able to teach yet?
I did 2 days. I did the new hires. I did the ITCs for them.
Okay.
So I did Friday. I did the ones that couldn't make it on the weekend because we have a lot of students with final exams. And then Saturday, Sunday, I did the ITCs for Beach Mountain.
Oh, cool.
So I was out all day. I'm real happy.
Got anything that maybe they have taught or may not have taught, or maybe they can remember anything from last year? Very specific.
What's that? On the ITCs?
Just anybody in general. I'm glad you're on skis in North Carolina. That's awesome.
Oh yeah, it's pretty good. We have almost 10 foot of snowpack on what's open.
You got 10 feet of snow already?
Yeah, we had to actually make stairs to get the people up onto the snow. They piled it so high.
Is that man-made snow or is that?
It's been snowing up here, so we've been getting a little bit. Get up in the morning, there's an inch or two, stuff like that. But now they blasted it up there. They pushed back. They normally open the Saturday after Thanksgiving. They pushed it back a week, and because we had cold weather, they just blasted it. I mean, it made for nice press, but you couldn't get people up on the snow because it was so steep going up there. We had to get shovels and cut stairs to get people up onto the snow.
Cool.
Yeah, it was good, and the new hires did pretty good. A little bit of upper body rotation, that was a problem. So a little bit of leaning, a lot of so the pressure was on the inside instead of the outside. So some of them were struggling with the wedge turns, too much on edge. So we had to work on that, getting the smearing down, getting the rotary down. But I think at the end of the weekend, everybody was pretty stoked that they're ready to teach.
Cool. So this is a great one to talk about. So you used a rotational aspect to kind of address the inside ski pressure?
Well, some of them couldn't get down off of the edge. So we had to start because we got, kids that have raced when they were in high school and stuff. So they had to learn how to get down off of their edge. We did a lot of smearing, peanut butter smeared and stuff to get them down off of their edge so that they could, when they turn the outside ski, the Deb Armstrong turn the outside ski, the inside ski rotates without giving it a push around.
You're right. But they were on a high edge. Was a ski out here somewhere where they kind of braced if they were standing on the inside ski?
Yeah, they got weight on the inside ski and they're a high edge angle. So we had to get them down off of those edges and smearing away so that they could get enough rotary to really do a decent wedge and wedge Christie.
So what was there something that you used to some kind of cue or some kind of idea you used to help do that?
Uh, yeah, what we did was started smearing our turns, getting off the edge, and just
Just
allowing the
talking about
skis to
buttering it, right?
smear, buttering it.
Yeah,
Instead of
schmearing.
get instead of getting up on the, we have a blue black that's open right now. Everybody wants to go on it. We have one chair that's all green, slightly blue. Let's get on the flat and just let the skis be flat and turn while they're flat. Smear them like peanut butter smear.
Yeah,
So
cool.
yeah, we worked on that for a while before we went over to the learning area to have them do wedge turns without twisting their upper body.
Okay. So what did that do to the body performance? How was the body different when they did it? If they were braced, they were probably braced, right? They had a long outside leg and stand on the inside leg, right? So
Yeah,
what
yeah,
did they
yeah.
do differently? What did we do differently? How did the body change to get a more schmeary, slippery, slidey, the ability to move this way? Could you
Well, I
describe
got
that
them
real quickly?
on the skis, up
Huh?
on, get my center mass on the skis, like you're riding a bicycle, and let the skis just smear along instead of
Okay.
they're
So we
basically
moved,
inclinated. They're
so we
banking.
moved the center of mass more to the inside or more to
Yeah,
the between the skis.
right between the
Yeah.
skis, like you're riding a bike. And let's get on a flat area and let's feel them just smear a little bit instead of
Cool.
trying to carve them. So that
Yeah.
seemed to, for the warm up laps, it seemed to get those guys down off that edge, and they stopped twisting their bodies because the skis could rotate under their bodies
Hmm.
better, easily.
Cool. Yeah, because they were more balanced between their feet instead of being here
Yeah.
to probably
So
here, right?
yep, here to
Yeah,
here.
cool.
That's what they were doing initially. So the movement analysis on the first run is what are they doing? Trying to impress me with their dynamic parallel by banking. You right?
Yeah, but if they got pressure on the inside ski, that ski outside ski wants to go straight, right? No
Yeah,
turning
yeah,
is happening.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That one's going this. Yeah, it's all over the
Yeah, yeah.
place.
Yeah, cool. All right. Anybody else?
If no one else has anything, Chuck, I can throw some things out there.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. If you got, keep it brief. I don't want to use up too much time.
Tell me when to shut up. I've been doing a lot of training this year and working.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
So I had a group of instructors the other day. Some of
Hmm.
them were new hires, some of them are working on their level two exams. And so we started playing with some different games. And I also did this with a set of teleskiers yesterday in the alpine end of things because of the really, really ugly weather up at Loveland yesterday. But what we started playing with is taking things that we all do normally, some of them out of the IDP and that, and one of them is hop turns. But instead of doing a hop turn at the beginning to get the turn started, I had several people in both the Alpine group and the Tele group that was over braced on the outside leg. It was just locked. They couldn't get it to bend. And so what we started doing is I had them go into the turn, and when they reached the fall line, their goal was to jump sideways. So they come into the turn here, and then they had to jump this way. And if you got really, really stiff legs, you can't do it. So it was rather, let's just say the first few attempts, and that was way more entertaining for me than them. Once they got the hang of it, they thought, wow, this is pretty cool. So, taking some other stuff that people like Dion and I and others have played with, instead of having them jump the skis sideways in the fall line, I had them actually step the ski. And when you step, you couldn't step into a wedge, you had to step parallel. And that became really, really entertaining. And after they figured that out, then we took it all the way to regular skiing. And then the reflection part of that was, what did you discover when you didn't lock your legs up with your turns? Did you find them easier? Did you find them better? Was it easier to manipulate the skis? Could you adjust easier. If you had to turn easier, were you relaxed enough that you could come out of that arc or modify the arc in the mid part of the turn? Most of us are so focused on the beginning and end, we can modify things there, but once we're locked in the turn, we don't modify so good from there.
I had a level 1 pod today, and I had one girl, which was kind of nice. So she got like a private lesson. But, part of the level 1 pod, very first one, she's going for her exam, which is going to be in January. So we had a very specific kind of plan that we were going to work on. So we went through the fundamentals. There were two that were very specific that we were working on. And her, if I'm going to talk about her ski performance, the ski performance was the skis were fairly close together. There was bending in the back of the ski. She had relatively open ankles, and she had relatively bent knees, and she was more upright from a hip position, which required her to use her hips to move the skis from side to side, because her access to being able to edge and rotate were not there. As a consequence, I'm going to add another fundamental in. As a consequence of not being able to access those pieces, the 4F pieces, and getting in a position where she can move along the length of the ski, she had to incline into each turn. So there was a little bit of a hip bump, and then the skis moved across, and then there was an incline moment, and then basically it was a rinse and repeat to go across. So part of our conversation today was, A, can she recognize what she's trying to do after I described it to her, which was successful after I described what she was doing and how we could make it, why there were some deficiencies there. What were some drills that we could come up with on the fly that may put her in a better position to access those pieces by being able to be more balanced over her feet? And of course, it was common things. Her feet have to be underneath her seat, but that doesn't really work because when we're skiing, we don't really see any of that. We have to be able to figure out ways that we can identify it proprioceptively and kinesthetically to know where we're at. So, of course, the old bunny hops came out. Standing, we did some bunny hops standing. We did some the 4F thing, just moving along the length of the ski, trying to shuffle our feet. And then we took that to skiing. We did bunny hops into skiing. And we made a few turns going down Vista Dome. When I got to the bottom, the first question I asked her was, what was the difference in the ski performance that you noticed at the end? She goes, A, I felt like the ski was bending more in the middle instead of in the back. And B, the tips were engaging every time I landed on the ground. The tips were actually engaging and taking her across the hill. Her body position after we did a couple of those drills, we did some other things too, because there's some specific items we had to work on the IDP that were also related with moving the center of mass underneath the base support, which were for us today was stepping into the fall line. Leapers, straight leapers on a straight run, and wedge change-ups, where we go from a parallel to a wedge and back to a parallel again. And she immediately noticed that if she is a little bit back, those tasks become a little bit harder. And so she was able to make an adjustment where she was sitting over to, wait a minute, what's going on here? Oh, there we go. We're back. Did you guys lose me for a second? No? Okay. So those wedge change-ups, the hops again in a straight run, and stepping into the fall line require us to be balanced over our skis in order to execute those tasks. And she was able to identify the fact that, yeah, from her previous performance to her new performance was different than what she had been doing. From what I saw was her ability to access the tipping piece with her lower legs was now there before where she was inclining from side to side. So success, yay. Does that make sense to everybody? Shush. I got the peanut gallery over here.
A lot of different kinds of nuts, Jack.
Huh? Oh, God. Thank you. I almost need this. All right.
Let other people talk and eat some.
I need to let everybody else talk more. Yes. I understand. So anyway, anybody else got anything? Last chance. All right, not a problem. Let's look at these two skiers. And we have a mother and daughter. We're going to assume that they're mother and daughter pair, just to make it kind of easy on us. We'll call the mother Colleen, we'll call the daughter Eileen. And what we're going to be looking at is the differences and the similarities between these two skiers.
It's kind of herky-jerky.
It's herky jerky. I need to make it smaller. Oops.
It might just be my phone.
No, it's typically it's the internet. That help?
Not yet. Just play it a couple of times until it buffers.
I'll do you all a favor and I'll put it in the chat.
Better now, Chuck.
Yeah, it's the smaller it gets, the better it is. But the problem is now the resolution starts to kind of tank. So anybody want to talk about similarities? Other than the fact that one's wearing a teal bottom and the other one's wearing a teal top.
How about they're
in their
both back
profile.
and inside?
Okay. What makes you say that? Gotta be
The
specific.
skis bend from the back, the snow flies from the back, and you see the tips bounce around a bit.
Uh-huh.
And you see more weight on the inside ski than the outside ski.
They're also, they've got the inside ski pressured more than the outside ski, and the outside ski is on a very high edge angle. You can see it particularly with the little girl. With the mom, not so much. The mom's legs are flexed more evenly, but you can still see due to the upper body inclination, the mom is displacing that outside ski or extending that outside leg and displacing the ski on a higher edge angle.
Anybody else? Adam, you want
Their ankles are pretty open. Both ankles are pretty open, not
Yeah.
flex. Not, and they don't have a lot of progressive flexion through the shaping of the turn.
Well, I mean, there's flexion there, but where is the
But
flexion?
in the ankle, there's not much flexion in the ankle. There's more flexion in the knee with the mom.
Mhm.
There's independent flexion in the knee of the daughter, but ankles I see are pretty open. More
Yeah, they
open
don't
with
really
the daughter
change much, do they?
than the mother.
Yeah, they don't really change much, do they?
No,
I
they
think
don't.
mom's ankles were more flex. She's okay on the flex on the ankle, but she's got too much knee. And the child is very upright with her upper body.
Mhm.
I'm gonna disagree on the mom there, Scott. I feel like she's the skis are bending more in the back. There's more snow coming from the back. She's in the back seat. So she has opportunity to be a little more efficient in controlling those skis through the turn if she flexes a little bit more through the ankles. And their bodies are also both square to most degree. I mean, the daughter's clearly square, but the mom. I'd like to see.
So what I like about both of them, is that unlike most skiers, they both have really nice stance width, nice wide, a pretty wide stance, giving the femurs room to rotate, but neither of them are using that stance to rotate the femurs separate from the upper body. They're both using whole upper body movement. And I like that stance width. They're just not, I might use that to say, hey, now let's try and separate those legs rotation from the upper body movement.
Except that the girl keeps her skis keep getting further apart and closer
Yeah.
together throughout the turn. So they don't really stay equidistant throughout the turn.
Okay.
So that may get very confusing for her.
Good pickup on that, Rob. Before Dion says anything, they also both start with up unweighting before they rotate their shoulders to get the
Right.
turn started.
Yeah.
I should say vertical unweighting.
Yeah, it's vertical, right? So it really doesn't change the stance any. The stance still stays pretty back. So I agree. I think the ankles are fairly open on both of them. I do agree with Scott. I think there's a little bit more ankle flex in the mother, but because she has a knee flex, that keeps her from balancing over her feet. What about edging? Anybody want to talk about edging? How do they edge?
Through inclination.
What about the girl?
Well, I
She
think
does it a
the
little
girl
differently
does
than
it.
mom.
She uses a bracing technique that she kind of pushes that outside ski out until she gets on an edge.
Yeah.
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 And she has like an in-rigger, right? She's got her weight on her inside ski and she's just pushing that outside ski out.
Cool.
So Chuck, I have a question for you. Well, while we're doing this, I guess MA on these two. We really want to focus on one or two things here. I mean, we've between all of us, we've really shot these ladies down, if you will.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I've heard some pretty dang good descriptions.
Yeah. No,
I mean,
absolutely.
bits and pieces, but yeah.
So would you hone in, in teaching a lesson now, in starting a lesson with those two or one or the other? You're saying basically based on the comments, we would hone in on one of those things, not take all of those things and try and address them all with her.
And to follow up on Rob's question is, how do you prioritize?
Right.
So the fundamentals are not necessarily ordered. Okay. So we don't really prioritize one fundamental over another, except for one. It's not edging. No, it is not.
Do this right, standing in the right place, goddamn.
No. So, and here's the biomechanical reason why. And I know a lot of you already probably heard this before. If we are not balanced over our skis, we do not have the ability to move. We are occupying our thighs and our legs and just holding us up. So our ability to tip and turn our legs independently is gone, whatever. So I would like to, in this particular case, we have to get them in a position where they can move. Especially the girl. The girl needs to be in a position where she has to move. Otherwise, the swinging of the body and the extension of the leg out to get edging That's
So
a
if she
compromise
goes-
movement. I'm going to put you on speaker here in a minute. Dion's over here giving me grief because she's doing all the wrong things, and there's nothing wrong with the wrong things,
I'm
right?
doing
You're explaining this in the wrong way.
So,
We can,
Chuck, I would
however,
use some of
now,
the
wait a
things you
minute,
talked
wait a
about
minute.
earlier.
I am going to take a now I'm going to flip this and I'm going to put it on her side a little bit. Okay. We need to get them more centered in the ski. That's a priority. We have to have ankle activation. Has to have it. Now, am I going to stand here and address the fore aft piece? Or can I address another fundamental that will put them in another position or will have force them to be in a new position?
Magnitude.
So, as I said with the girl that I worked with today, what were some things as I asked her that we could do both statically and in a ski, which is going to put them in a position where they have to be able to be balanced over the ski to allow them to do the task. So that's the compromise that I would have with Dion. Dion's been talking about edging. If they'd only edge correctly, then they would both be much, much better skiers. So what kind of task would we design in the edging realm that would allow them to be more balanced?
I wouldn't go there. I'd start with the fore aft. I'd go where you did this morning. I'd have them go straight down the fall line and do some small hops on very flat, and maybe even try to get them to keep their tips on the snow while they just do small hops. To get
Yeah, I
them-
agree with Scott. Especially the woman on the mom, I guess it is on the left. If you look at her, she's already her knee. Just putting her in a stationary position and saying, "Okay, now stand up straight." Look how bent her knees are. That puts
Right.
her aft,
Right.
so far aft to begin with.
Yep.
I think just that stationary stance would correct her or help her out immensely.
Uh-oh. Scott, you got something to contribute? Or is it Adam? Sorry.
No,
I've heard
that's
people
exactly
talking
right. I
about
mean,
that
to
a
me,
little bit.
Scott, hold on, Scott.
So just a quick hi everybody. I'm Adam. Do you all feel that the woman is always really aft, mostly centered aft, forward to centered aft? Like
She gets
I
up.
think
I think the woman on the left, the mom, I guess, I think she's always aft because her stance is, by virtue of her knees being bent more than her ankles, she's always aft.
so what joints could bring her back forward?
Her ankle, moving her ankles.
Okay, so are her ankles pretty flexed most of the time?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And how about her hips?
her hips are flexed.
She's pretty flexed. And so I'm not going to say that she's perfectly centered all the time, but she's more centered than she looks because she's compensating with her ankles and her hips for how much her knees are bent. So she's not crazy off in terms of fore aft.
I would respectfully disagree just looking at the snow on every turn on the tails of her skis.
No, no, no.
Snow always
And-
comes off the tails and the tips.
Yeah, yeah.
Always.
So, yeah, I'm, how do I say this? I think Adam is correct.
Yeah, I would agree with that her ankles are bent. It's just that her knees are more flexed than the ankles and the hips. And if you could just get the knees a little forward and unbent, then she would be in a more athletic position.
Well, could she move her hips a little bit more forward and that would accomplish it and bring more pressure toward the tips of her skis when she initiates a turn?
As long as she opens her upper body.
She doesn't open her upper body because it can't be just the hip. It has to be the whole box, right? The whole shoulder the hip area has to move forward. In order for us to do that, we have to open up our knees.
He needs
To
to
be clear,
stand taller.
Stand
yeah.
taller. That's what I would say is if she just stood
She-
taller, that would fix her knees.
But
Yeah, if she opened her ankles, if she
But-
opened her ankles and her knees and her hips, keeping some bend in all three, she would be in a much better place to access all the other motion that she has to. So it's not necessarily a fore-aft piece, but it is a change in her stance to allow her to access what Chuck's been talking about.
So my question is, why does she feel the need to do that? What is it in her skiing that makes her want to overflex her knees in order to ski? I think we need to just focus on what the basic
Yeah, so
thinking
shifting
for her is that she needs to overflex her knees because
right, shifting from the movement piece to maybe her understanding. And Adam is
you're breaking
You're
up.
breaking up, Chuck. We can't hear you.
I said that we're moving from the movement piece to the understanding piece, right?
You're still breaking up.
Am
I
I?
think it's on his end because you're coming through clear on Dion's phone.
I might be. I don't know. Is everybody? Am I breaking up for everybody else too?
Chuck, I think every time you lean in, you start breaking up. It might be just the microphone.
I better.
Technology, it sucks.
Technology sucks. Yes. So Adam is chopping it. This is about what her understanding might be, right?
Sort of, yeah. So
No.
I would look at everything she's doing in her knees and her hips as functional to compensate for her ankles. So the question I would put to, forgive me, I don't know who spoke and asked the question, which is a great question, is why are her ankles that flexed?
Is this how she feels safe? That there's a slightly defensive posturing?
Why do you flex the ever living crap out of your ankles?
It's to compensate.
Nope. It's a
Could be the boots. It could be that she's been told to, push her lower, her shins forward.
Yeah. Why does she think that pushing her shins forward, bending, pressuring,
Breaking up again.
I think that this gal, the mom, is overflexed on the knee and the hip because an instructor told her to be forward. And so she feels that by flexing her knees, she's bringing her body forward, but that's also causing her hips to be overflexed. And so she's feeling that she's athletic and controlling her motion in that way, but actually her center of mass is aft as a result of what she's doing.
Her center of mass, she's compensating. The center of mass there is there, but it's she's in a compromised position is where she's at.
The coaching cue that I would offer to all of you is pressuring the front of the boot is not pressuring the front of the ski. Pressure to the front of the boot, pressure to the front of the cuff, bending the ever living crap out of your ankle does not have to result in putting pressure to the front of the ski, to directing pressure along the length of the ski forward. And she's exactly the case in point. And I can show you a video of me from 8 years ago, 10 years ago, where I'm doing the exact same move because people had taught me, got to be more forward. You got to be more forward. And it turns out I can tell where the middle of the ski was. So I bent the crap out of my ankle. And then I bent the other joints to compensate for it.
Right.
And that's why I'm passionate about this issue. Thanks, Jeff.
Oh, no problem.
So
makes sense to everybody? Yeah, go ahead.
But Chuck, I'm kind of curious where you were going with focusing on edging to get her to move forward.
That's a very good question. And I was humoring Dion with the idea that maybe we could do something as a task that would help her with the idea of being more balanced over the ski, unflexing the parts that are flexed too much, so that she's going to be bending the ski more in the middle. That's going to allow her to also be able to edge the ski better.
Railroad
Do
track.
I think that's where we're going to go? No, not in my
But I
personal.
like that. I like the idea because,
No, that's the basic idea. Yes.
and so looking for guidance here. What was your thought process or to the group, I guess?
Balanced over them.
Yes.
So obviously she likes those edges. This is what we like.
Go ahead. I mean, please. And I want you to, I don't want to focus on one or the other. I want to focus on both of them. How could we design a task that would be successful for both of them? So we're kind of going right to the lady, the mother. She does have some access to some lower leg tipping, but the little girl does not.
So I think you should do railroad tracks with both of them, because railroad track, you have to be standing up. So that'll fix the problem with the mom. With the young lady, you have to tip your legs together with the railroad track. So that will get her actively tipping the girl's lower body, hopefully resulting in the edges tipping evenly in together.
Do you think they're capable of doing railroad tracks?
I was
Do they
thinking more of a
do
guided
maybe-
uphill arc, maybe.
Yeah, that's exactly where I would go, is do garlands.
Cool. Garlands. Tell me about the garlands. How would you set that up?
How would I set up a garland? In this case,
No, I mean, yeah, I mean, there's lots of different kinds of garlands. How would you set that up so that they understand what you're trying to do?
so it can be as simple as starting some traverses where we're just lightly tipping our skis, right? And
Yeah.
then carry that forward into garlands. The reason I like these is because it gives you that instantaneous feedback, right? Exactly. Guided uphill arc, starting with a guided uphill arc and then going to garlands. You can turn around, and I use this all the time. Look, guys, what were the tracks your ski made? Were they the same? Were they the same width? Did each one track the same, or was one smeared? You can do lots of things and get tons and tons of feedback out of these guided uphill arcs and garlands.
Task of railroad tracks, put them on the side of the hill, and now they're kind of doing a railroad tracky thing on the side hill to help them figure out how to release the skis.
Are you saying like uphill carved arc?
Well, I mean, you have the carved arc and you have a guided arc, right? Guided arc is more shmeary, and there's like a lot more rotational piece, right? And I'm not gonna say no to Kelby's task. I like Kelby's task. What I'm gonna suggest is that we're not looking for perfect level 2-inch railroad tracks, right? What we're looking for is the movement that they're trying to produce, that lower leg tipping. And in order for them to get lower leg tipping, where do they have to be in terms of balance?
More forward.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
So
let's
whether
just
it's
say
a smear
center
turn,
over the middle of the ski.
yeah. And whether we do it across the hill or we do it straight down the hill does not make any difference as long as the task achieves a goal, which is I want them to be more edgy or tip the edges the same time and the same amount to help them start the turn. But I also, in order for them to do that, have to get them more centered in the ski. So as I've said, there is no real perfect here, but I like the task. And I like the way AJ took it. He took the same task. He goes, okay, let's go to Garland's.
I love
Just take the
the
lower tracks, put them on side hills.
Chuck. I
Go
like
ahead, Rob.
like I was saying to begin with. I liked the width of their stance, and if you look
Yeah.
at both women, I think they're both also observing on a positive note.
Yeah.
They both look athletic. They're active. Those are active
Yeah.
turns. They're not very good technically, but they're very active turns, and they're making things happen. So I thought Kelby's suggestion of at least try those if you were trying to put an edge function in there and along with standing the other person up. Give it a shot because they look like they have the athleticism to do that.
Yeah. So, I am taking Dion's suggestion that edging is the thing that we want to work on, and we're designing a task for that. But it doesn't necessarily mean that. Yeah. So basically, Dion's, I got to put her on camera because all she's doing now is like hopping outside ski turns. Yeah, no, we're not doing ballet either. But the idea is that we're taking a task, we're trying to achieve a balance piece using a different fundamental. Could we use rotation? We could use rotation. What would be like a rotational task?
Hockey stops.
Hockey stops, okay. How would you set that up as a task? What would you explain that would make a difference? The difference that you're looking for,
I'd
and be
tell 'em
body
that
specific.
we'd want to do a hockey stop and try to point our spray downhill rather than, to the side of the hill, and try to get them do it with some counter, and and then do it the other direction as well.
Look at how old this girl is, right? How old is she?
She's
How
probably
old do you
12.
think she is? 12? You think she's that old?
Maybe,
Hmm?
yeah.
I think she's like a 10, somewhere between 10 and 12. So counter, and would we talk to about counter with them?
About counter.
Yeah.
So getting their bodies, maybe we could start just doing some slips down the hill to release their skis, and when you have the counter right and you're 4.5 properly, you're gonna slip straight down the fall line. If you're square, for instance, you might go across the hill forward. Counter helps, I think, get you sliding in the right direction. So maybe you start with just some side slipping to get that counter established.
Yeah, but would we say counter to these two? We
I would
use
just
that
say
language.
get the zipper pointed downhill and point
Yeah,
the
can we
hips.
keep our zipper a little bit more downhill, or can we be a little bit more open to the hill, or can we do blah, 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 right? Counter is a very loaded word, right? Because it's a ski instructor term. We don't talk about counter with our clients, because if you have to explain it, then you're going to be in trouble. Does that make sense? So
Yes.
I like the task. I like how you set it up. We're going to rotate the skis, and we're going to do kind of like a hockey stop or a hockey slide, and we're going to push as much snow down the hill as we can. And as much snow means not from the tail, not from the tip, but the whole ski. And that's going to put them in a more balanced position?
Yes, I would think
Yeah.
so. I mean, it would be hard to accomplish if you were too far back or too far forward.
That would change the performance, wouldn't it? If they're too far back, what's the ski's going to do?
You're going to basically push from the tails, and then probably that will kind of push you out of the turn. Yeah.
They'll give
Skis
you
are gonna
instant feedback.
Right. Instant feedback. Nothing wrong with having them do it wrong. That's an important trick we do as trainers, right? We'll make them do it wrong and then ask them why it was wrong.
Well,
So you could do the same
wrong.
thing
It's
with
just, when they're back, that they can feel moving forward, back, and balance. They can
right.
see what it does to the ski.
Yeah. Perfect. All right. Questions?
Would maybe a lower end task like 1,000 steps on a gentler terrain work with both the rotation and also make them stay forward?
I don't know. You tell me.
I thought that 1,000 steps. I thought maybe 1,000 steps would focus on, because you can't make that turn without moving down the hill and staying with the ski and moving forward, and at the same time we're rotating our legs, and depending on pitch of the slope, we'll also have to use some edge angle as well.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the edge angle would be kind of consequential, right?
Right. That's what I mean.
As we come past the fall line, we automatically start to edge.
It's going to
because
happen.
the hill it's going to happen because we're going one direction and the hill's going the other. So we're getting edging.
Right.
So so that's a different task.
Yeah.
You're steering it towards the rotation and the fore aft piece, and I like that. Right.
Yeah.
I like it. So different task.
I'd like to try skating.
Ooh, all right, cool. Tell me
I'd
about
like
the
to try
skating.
that with maybe a focus on trying to make sure when the ski that's off the snow, when you put it down, you put down the front of the ski first.
Yeah.
And
Where
it gets them
would you
edge
do
to
that?
edge. It'll get them getting their weight on the outside ski because they're both inside.
Mhm.
And in order to skate, you have to be centered or forward on your ski. You got to be moving forward to do that. So it'll help fore aft balance and the ski to ski balance.
So where would you do that task, Scott?
Oh, I would do it on I'd start on very flat because they've got to learn to skate first. And I would do it on I'd start very flat and then maybe move it up to where there's a little bit of slope so they can kind of skate downhill.
Okay. So I'm gonna pick on you a little bit because there's some opportunity here that maybe you're not quite saying. So let's pick on the mother, and we have a recognized new body performance that we want to adopt. How would skating help her with that?
Well, in order to skate, to do it properly, she's going to have to get her hips forward. Going to have to. And particularly if we give them an emphasis, we want to see the front of the ski engage with the snow when you put it down.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially the way you're setting it up, which is to make sure that maybe we put this tip down first, right?
Right.
And then the extension thing, the thing that we wanted to do without losing the ankle flex, the extension on the knee and the hips is going to happen from the pushing part, the part that where we're pushing backwards to the side, right?
Yes.
As we remain flexed on our new inside ski. Yeah.
Right.
I really like that one too.
So let me throw this out, and you guys can take it as something to consider. But to get people to stand up taller, especially in this realm, would you consider bringing them to terrain where they could do comfortable wedge turns and then using the new IDP assessment activities bring the wedge turns up to wedge wiggles.
Yeah, because that wedge wiggle, that's moving from ski to ski, right? You're pressuring one, then you're pressuring the other.
Nope.
No, I
It's
thought
a
that's what a
rotary
wedge
movement.
wiggle was. You're making small turns.
Nope. If you
So
read the
what
wedge
what is
wiggles,
a
it's
wedge
more of a
wiggle?
pivot than a turn. And to pivot the skis, do you have to be centered on them or not?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I think the
And
one that
if
Scott
you're
was
trying
talking.
to get somebody to start standing a little taller, a wedge is a good place to get that to happen.
What am I doing?
Because if they get low, like we're starting to see, what's happening, most of the speed control is coming from a wide wedge and pressuring the back of the skis.
Mm.
So to get them to stand up taller, take them back to a wedge, and then using the new assessment activities in the IDP, start moving towards a wedge wiggle.
That makes sense.
And
Explain a
they're
wedge.
skiing at kind of they're skiing beyond a level 1 category in many things they're doing, not as precise as we would like to see them at level 1. But I mean, these people, we're watching them come down. They could probably come down comfortably blue terrain, which is starting to throw them into this upper category here. Got to keep your hips a little bit, got to keep your feet under your body.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, Dion. You're thinking hard.
Well, I really thought you got to a great place with having them go back to the wedge and use a smaller gliding wedge to find that position where they can be a little bit more open. Just because my butt goes back doesn't mean I've come off the front of my boots. The mom, for the most part, does not come off the front of the boots, even when she flexes more at the knees towards the finish of her turn. Her ankles are very flexed during that part of the turn. She is on the front of her boots.
Okay, and I see both.
So,
I see her dropping the butt and coming off the front on some of those turns.
Never comes in front of that.
So, but again, that's my view. Dion's is just as accurate.
Whether she's coming off the front of the boot or not, or whether she's butt is back or not, the spray and the turn is not coming from the length of the ski. It's coming from the tail of the ski by virtue of the snow coming off those tails. What's causing that?
There's always more snow coming off the tail of any ski, regardless of how you are standing on the ski. You can be too far forward and have more snow coming off your tails during the turn.
No, of course. But I'm just asking the question, what is causing the turn of the skis are not being steered, the tails are turning. We've been taught to steer the skis with the tip, the front, the tails follow the tips. I don't think they are with her skis.
So for the mom, the tails follow the tips through the second half of the turn until right at the finish when you see the outside ski slide away again.
Mm-hmm.
Because her stance diverges that way and she ends up in a slightly converging relationship when she starts her next turn, that is why you see more movement at from the tail at the beginning of the turn. And because she's upper body rotating to do that, because she cannot release both skis because one has slid away and slid into a wedge.
Makes sense. That's a great, thanks for
I
that
agree with
explanation.
that, Dion. I would
Yeah,
also
so-
suggest that after the fall line, that's when I see the ankle starting to open, though the outside ski is definitely bending from someplace near the middle.
Right there. Yeah.
So would you guys say, Dion, from what I hear you saying, are you saying a lot of that is being caused by this upper body rotation at the end of the turn?
It's being caused by the upper body rotation at the beginning of the turn, And well, it kind of starts at the end of one turn and into the beginning of the
Yeah.
next because she begins it
Right.
before she really changes both
Oh, yeah.
edges.
You can see that.
Right.
So depending on how you want to view beginning of the turn, through that transition period, there is an upper body rotation. I
Yeah.
see that body rotation as coming from not being able to release both skis because she came so far inside the turn that the outside ski slid away and became converging to some extent. And because it's out from under her, she can't release it or put it on its new edge. So she's standing on one ski and the other ski is stuck in the snow. And so leg turning is not going to make anything happen.
So is it
But-
converging or diverging?
I'm
'Cause
seeing
he's-
divergent.
Yeah, I think it's diverging at the end of the turn,
Mhm.
especially on the left turns. It's very diverging. She's so weighted on the inside ski. There's a diverging as she
Right there,
pushes the
yeah.
outside ski away.
Then she immediately converges to start the next turn. She has
Yep.
to.
She
has
has
one-
to.
Yes.
She has this thing that happens with both skis. First, it goes out because she came too far in and that ski bent.
Mhm.
Then, because the skis are out from, one ski is out from under her, she uses an upper body rotation and gets a convergence. Her stance at that point is actually really wide because and it's not functionally wide, it's unfunctionally wide because her ski is out from under her.
Agreed.
Questions? That's a lot.
That was a lot of information, but there was some great discussions there. I just opened
Yeah.
up my yap because I think we were missing some of the underlying issues there. So, and Dion makes great points in there. So, Chuck, I see your lips moving, but I don't hear anything.
Chuck, you're muted.
Sorry, you were all muted.
Well, yeah, but I forgot the phone here.
It was also muted.
Oh,
I thought you were unmuted.
I am sorry, so sorry. I feel like I'm with Adam. I feel like the underlying cause of what she's doing is a misunderstanding of the application of trying to be forward. She thinks she's forward because her boots are against the front, her shins are against the fronts of her boots.
She's in the right spot on the ski most of the time, even when she's at the functional, using the rear of the ski at the bottom of the turn.
Right.
And so, yeah, he just needs to know that it's okay to also be standing, so then she can flex at mobiles.
Right. But we kind of beat up on this poor woman. What about her daughter?
He sucks too.
The poor kid is getting left behind. We are totally focusing on the daughter the whole time.
Well, the thing is, they both have got similar movement patterns. So what you do with one, you could do with the other.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, when I say similar, I mean the gross movement patterns, but there are, again, developmental
There is always
things that are
develop-
submitting them, that are changing them. Okay, the daughter's young enough that she doesn't have all of the adult movement patterns and coordination yet.
Yeah.
But the gross movement patterns are the same. They both tend to start their turns with an up unweighting. They both tend to start their turns by rotating the upper body. They both tend to try and bend and the ankles to get to the front. The daughter being a little less successful, but she's still, for a child, mostly in the middle of her skis. So if we keep the concept simple, and this is a reason I was suggesting perhaps bringing them all the way back to basic wedge turns to correct the stance issues before going forward.
Yeah. I got no problem with that. Maybe, maybe that would be a good idea. Introduce that kind of rotational piece where the legs move underneath the body instead of using the upper body to rotate the legs. Any other questions? So I'm going to apologize. We've had some technical difficulties as Dion and Adam try to cure Sam's poor boot problems. At the same time, my computer decided that it had run its gamut of battery power. So we're going to go ahead and kind of cut it off tonight. I want to listen to some takeaways. What were some things that you guys got from tonight that you think you could apply immediately in a lesson?
Well, the task.
I like the discussion about the shins being on the front of the boot doesn't necessarily mean you're pressuring the front of the skis, that you can be aft while still having pressure on your shins.
Yeah. Alona, you had something?
Yeah, I was saying that the progression used for both of these mother and daughter of both railroad track, and I would use a fan progression using a garland, but continuing to do that motion in a fan going down the hill.
Cool. Anybody else?
Yeah, I like the suggestion of putting them in a wedge to stand to stand up taller. It's very simple, but it is very true. Everybody tends, to do a wedge and pressure the back of the skis there, and I thought that was helpful.
Yeah. Never discount the lowly wedge. It's a very good tool.
Well, yeah, I thought when Mike was saying the wedge wiggles, that could really emphasize the separation, upper lower body separation, so that they start moving away from this upper body rotation and really get the feel of it.
Yeah, cool. What else?
I like the idea you presented of doing the garlands, especially the modified garland where you do a smeared piece to it as well as a carved piece.
Yeah, cool. That's kind of like, as Alona said, she was going to probably go maybe towards more of a fan progression. But the fan progression doesn't necessarily mean that we're always pointed downhill to start the fan. We can start at a less angle and then go back up and then flatten the skis, start into a little bit deeper and then come back. That's actually one thing I love doing by myself. I think it's a blast, right? I edge up, get a nice carve up, and then I'll slide down like a long ways and then hit the edges again, go back up again, and just do it progressively more and more and more. Here at Winter Park, we got one run. It's called Village Way, and it's like on a side hill from Cramner all the way down to, it's like almost a half mile long, but it's a side hill like this, right? From upper right to lower left. And it's a perfect place to do these kind of like fan garlandy drill where we could do that. And then we could go to the other side, the lower part, switch around and go back the other way and do the same thing going the other direction. A really great place to do. And if you have a side hill like that, take advantage of it, right? It's like a little terrain-based piece that doesn't necessarily have to be very steep. It could be steep this way, but you're going across the hill the whole time. Cool.
Yeah,
Anybody else?
Yep.
Get Chuck, one more comment on what Dion said, which was really made me think. I'd like to follow up on another Zoom with this, but she was very emphatic about, hey, I can have my ass down on the snow and my ankles up against the boot and be in a good stance, if you will. I don't want to misrepresent what she said, but
she didn't really
that
put it that way. What she said was that she could have her shins on the fronts of the boots,
right,
but against the back of the boot too, right.
I thought that was an interesting sort of comment in that we've
Yeah.
sort of been, at least I've sort of understood, like we've even talked about tonight, we want to have our hips forward a little more. And so I'm not exactly sure where stuff's supposed to be, or if what she was saying, which is I agree with, is everybody's a little bit different biomechanically. We talked about that a little bit as well, so that you can be centered on your ski and everybody's body's different, I guess, was my
Yeah.
takeaway.
Yeah, everybody's body's a little bit different. Now, don't mistake in the fact that she's got her butt against her ankles and still feeling the fronts of the boots as forward, right?
Right.
Yeah.
What she was illustrating was, I'm feeling the fronts of the boots, and just because I'm feeling the fronts of the boot does not make the front of the ski bend. We have to be able to get that leverage to make the front of the ski bend, right? And in order for us to do that, we have to be here this way and not here back here. We have to get this leverage to happen, right? And
Got it.
and I'm not going to open that can of worms, but just because that we're leveraging off the fronts of the boots does not mean we're bending the ski. Okay,
Right.
we bend the ski primarily through pressuring, jamming, pushing, the front of the boot. The front of the boot is there as kind of a reference. There are other ways that we pressure and bend the fronts of the skis too.
And it only bends so much.
Yeah, exactly. It only bends so much. Exactly.
Right.
It's deceiving though.
How do you bend a ski more? If I wanted my ski to bend like Michaela's ski, how would I get it to do that?
Go
Go
faster.
faster
No,
and edge more. Higher edge angles and go faster.
the only thing that matters is the higher edge angle. The higher edge angle allows the part under your foot to flex. The higher the edge angle, the more the ski can flex. If you're only on one particular edge angle, it's as flexed as it's going to get. Your ski is flat, standing on it is as flexed as it's going to get. If it's on a little tiny edge, it can only flex so much. When you flex it more than that, terrible things happen, by the way. You do this nice thing called a high side. I recommend you not do it. Because that's exactly what happened. I bent one part of the ski more than the ski was on an edge.
And she went.
Yeah, I flipped over. It was great.
It's on video.
You got to, I hate to be the party pooper with that, but I agree with what you're saying, Dion. But if your intent is to do something in the freestyle world like butters and that, then you can overpressure the tip of the ski so you can pivot around the tip of the ski without being on edge.
Well,
Or
Correct.
you're doing a tail
Yeah,
butter. But if
but
we're
the
working in the
rest of
turning
the
realm
ski
while their
isn't
work,
on the ground
like
when
we're
you do
watching the skiers here, I agree with what you're saying, but it's not an absolute.
No.
correct, but the rest of the ski when you do a butter isn't on the ground.
Yeah.
And you're actually only bending one part of the ski.
Yep, agreed.
Not the whole
But
ski.
still, you're
If you
bending
want
either
to
the tip,
bend
middle,
the
or tail
whole
of the ski.
If you want to bend the whole ski, there's an edge angle piece.
That
That
helps
is
the best. Agreed.
the primary focus. So I can't pressure a ski to make it bend. I can't stand on it any harder. I only weigh so much.
Interesting. Mhm.
My body weight only bends the ski as much as it does when the ski is flat on the ground. The rest comes from the forces in a turn when the ski is on edge. And the higher the edge angle, the more the ski will bend. Theoretically, I will also then have more speed, but maybe not. When I really get to carving, I actually go fairly slow because my ski has a small radius. I don't have a 20-meter ski. I have a 14 or 13 or 12. I like short, turny skis.
He's got a pair of same.
So speed is not always the answer.
That makes sense to everybody? Everybody get that? Yeah. Of course, you've opened up another whole can of worms.
Sorry. But they were
We'll talk
thinking
about that some other.
they're thinking they could stand on it and bend it.
No, that's true. But you can when it's on edge. You're going really fast. You got lots of.
You can stand against it. But it's
All right. Anybody else got any other pieces that they want to add in?
Yeah. I would really like to say I really like the interaction discussions happening tonight. That was
Cool.
really awesome to hear.
I thought it was very good, except for the background distraction piece.
We won't go there, Chuck.
From the peanut gallery in the background, but
So, but I would bring up, as Dion had also inferred in that, we're making these descriptions and that of some of this stuff, and especially at the higher levels, the 2s and 3s, you might be asked, why do you think that's occurring? Let's not forget there might be mechanical issues, i.e. boots, skis, fit, etc., or biomechanical issues, how we just develop. And it could be from a kid's point of view or an adult point of view, how we actually develop.
Drastically.
Yeah, her pulls. Yeah, 100%. I thought, for the most part, the descriptions I got very early on were very good. I thought they were pieces and parts. I think there were some pieces that were missing in a lot of them. But for the most part, I think everybody kind of gleaned on the core issues and did a pretty good job of describing them. We just kind of got to fill in those gaps a little bit, and we're going to be right where we need to be. Anybody else got any last comments? It's now 8:30 Colorado time, 9:30 my time, 10:30, unfortunately, the East Coast time. And I see that everybody's kind of falling off. So thank you everybody for coming. I thought it was a really good night.
Thanks, Chuck. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey,
Thanks.
Chuck, when everyone
Thanks,
slides
Mike.
off,
Thanks,
I'll
everybody.
touch bases with you real quick.
Thanks, thanks everyone.
Thank you.
You.
And thanks for letting me join you guys tonight.
Thanks, Mike. It was good.
Mike, we always love your input.
Yeah, no
Sometimes.
kidding. Yeah.
Sometimes always.